I know, you know. So to smoothly transition into this next part of the backwardness too, which is the third part, which is iRobot versus God's body. iRobot versus God's body, and this will be the section where we diagnose and where we begin the understanding and overstanding of the whole the spiritual technology, basically, and understanding that technology, it's why I say iRobot versus God's body, because technology is the carbon copy. Listen to me. Technology is the carbon copy of the biological makeup. You understand? Technology is the carbon copy of the biological makeup. You understand? Like the camera is supposed to be the eyes. The lenses are the eyes. The brain is the computer. The heart is the motor. You know, these types of the speaker, the microphone is the voice. Is the box. The voice box, the speaker. You know, and just this simple understanding of technology being the carbon copy of the biological makeup. You know what I'm saying? Understanding just how in these movies that this same concept was introduced just through science fiction movies. So many times now a lot of the great information in science gets passed through the metaphors and in the parable of science fiction cinema. You understand? Movies like the Matrix, iRobot. You understand where the human God anatomy is at war with a robotic technological element of the cosmos. You know what I'm saying? And understanding what it is to be programmed. And us establishing the fact that technology is the carbon copy of the human biological makeup, of the God body. Technology is the carbon copy of the God body. Us understanding that, and us understanding that the brain is the greatest, most ancient cosmic computer on the planet. Is a grand receiver of a type on the planet. And for us to understand that the brain is this grand computer, we must understand what it is to be programmed. We must know, and we must thoroughly analyze what it is to be programmed. And to be programmed is actually to be programmed is to if the brain is a computer, if the brain is a computer, then if the brain is a computer, and one's judgment is only as good as the information that he receives, the information and studies and research that he or she receives, and if the brain is the grandest and most ancient computer, the most complex computer on the planet, then to program the brain, it is necessary that you load the brain up with bad software. That you give the brain bad data, bad software, misinformation, false information. Ultimately causing it to download bad software, and consequently yielding it to be programmed. Under a whole new set of operation of things, not even based upon its own judgment or anything of these matters. So understanding that that's what it is to be programmed, for this ancient cosmic computer to download terrible information wrong information, misinformation, wrong data, and that ultimately yielding, this grand computer of being, the term of being programmed, along with chemical showers of chemtrails, showers of chemtrails, and along with chemicals in our food, GMO produced food, all these chemicals in our food, and isn't it ironic? Isn't it ironic that they would make a movie called iRobot, and all of a sudden a few years later you got everything, you got iMac, iPad, iPhones, you know what I'm saying? And this was ever before we had anything, the movie iRobot. You understand? And now you add in all these GMO chemicals in the food, chemicals in the air, and all of these chemicals, along with a trained, program, uniform society, a trained, program, uniform, group thinking society, you actually yield a robot of the human anatomy. You actually make a robot zombie all off the human anatomy, And then when you have programs like Facebook, when you have databases, basically Facebook is basically a database now. It's basically a database, and it asks you what's on your mind. So basically off of the history of one's Facebook profile, they could really make a whole nother clone of you. You understand? I mean, I don't think that y'all really understanding how deep this rabbit hole goes, man. And it's to the point where people got to understand that if they'll put a GPS on a common phone, they'll put a GPS on your phone. They'll put a GPS on. If they'll put a GPS in these iPhones, GPS shit. I mean, we already know a GPS. If a motherfucker got beef with you, they can come straight to your door wherever you at. Basically, if they'll put some shit like that in the average American, in the average American's hands, in billions of people's hands, basically millions of people's hands, then what kind of technology do you think really exists among this place? See, and that is ultimately what makes everything that we have a damn near spy gadget, and that's how they get it into the homes. They make the shit all fun, and they put games on the shit. So next thing you know, you're going to buy the shit, and now they got the spy gadget right in your goddamn house, and the shit come on when you turn it off, or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Backwards because we are now, this iRobot, Terminator, earthly, physical, egotistical takeover in this war on God's body has advanced so much so to now we are almost spiritually diabetic and spiritually inefficient. So much so to the point where we more revel in entertainment, media, gossip, so many other things like this, and when conversation of substance come around, we find it tough. We're ready to quickly evade the conversation with saying that's racist, or we're saying, hey, that's just how it is, or man, you can't change the world. You understand? But if it's about LeBron James, or if it's about Aaron Rodgers, or if it's about Michael Jordan, if it's about oil and American industry, whatever, you know what I'm saying? We could talk about that shit all goddamn day. If it's about chicken and beer, if it's about goddamn golf and goddamn business adventures, whatever the fuck, we can talk about that all day. But we're spiritually inefficient. Man. So that whole understanding of iRobot versus the God body, the technological advancement, and attempt to overcome God's will and God's body. Ultimately, iRobot versus God's body.